So can you tell us your name and what you're doing here?
Well, my name is Amy Velez Valcasa. I'm from Colombia and I live in Cuba for the last 7 years, back and forth, but for the last 5 years I've been here. And what I do over here is that I was living in New York for many years, and I'm a nurse and a community activist. And I got at the point that I says to myself, I better get out of here because I was ready to be tied and sent into a mental institution. And and definitely Cuba is the place that I feel more accountable than anywhere.
So you are a nurse
So,
and you volunteer here in.
yes, I sometimes I volunteer at the Hermanos Armejeira at the International Clinic. I go and I work as an interpreter because I'm a nurse and I speak English. And sometimes, Cuba is so generous and they always welcome people that they don't have resources in their own countries, to get medical treatment. And and the bridge between the doctor and the patients that they come in to get medical treatment.
So what have you seen that is the effects of the U.S. blockade?
It's very difficult to put in my own words. The big crime is a crime what the United States is doing against the Cuban people. Um, as a nurse, it's very hard for me to see how. Let's talk about a child that is dealing with cancer, and they need the medication to treat this child. And then when the governments manage, to get the medication in a third or whatever country, for the 5 or 4 times more than what is the really cost of the medication, it's too late. And sometimes the little kids die as a result of lack of have the opportunity to get the medications to treat the child. And I think it's a crime. And I can go on and on and on and on about the lack of opportunities that the people have to deal with different medical situations because the U.S. Criminal embargo don't let them, to have the equipments and the medications and the I'm very upset when I think about that.
Do you have friends who have needed medications who can't get them in the pharmacy or in the hospital?
This is the daily living, you see, especially now with Mr. Trump criminal, 243 sanctions, that they have against Cuba. Sometimes it's even difficult to get a painkiller because, they don't have the health care in Cuba is incredible. I think it's a good example for the humanity. I'm talking about as a nurse because I spent many years working in the United States as a nurse, and I have to say, my experience as a nurse in the United States is disgusting. It's just a business. It's like you go to a hospital that they rental a room for you for $500 a day. Sometimes the medications that you provide to the client is not what they need. Especially depends, what is the um, health insurance, and not only that, they don't really treat the everybody as an equal. We see that over here, not in the United States. And the medications sometimes that they use is medications that they alleviate the situation a little bit, but they create other situations that they are worse. I have to say, was very hard to be a nurse in the United States because you know what they're doing to the people, and you start to feel disgusting about yourself because you feel part of that cycle, that sickness. It's like, the medications that they use as a painkiller, Exequin, is a medication that the clients get addicted, and then from there they go straight to use heroin. This mean, and the diet in the United States is full of pesticides, irradiation, bacteria, and many people in the United States, they have very high cholesterol. The medication that they use to reduce the cholesterol, they maybe reduce a little bit the cholesterol, but they destroy the liver. This means it's a cycle. It's a sick cycle.
And here?
No. In Cuba, they really is. I remember when I used to be a nurse in Housing Works. Housing Works is the largest agency in the United States that they provide housing and they treatment for people who are infected with HIV and AIDS. And I was reading about the way that they was treating HIV in Cuba. A large group of nurses, we came over here to see why they have so success, to treat AIDS in Cuba. I said, well, what the hell, we want to go to see what they're doing over there. But then when you come in over here, you see that the system over here is not about money. It's about to really save people's life. And how you're going to implement in a system that is about money? It's impossible.
So what is the reason for the US blockade?
Well, I think it's evil. I think they are afraid of provide the opportunity to people to see that is other way to live. I think Cuba is, for me, in my own experience, is the best example for the humanity to build something that is more connected to the people's needs, not to the 5% of the population in the planet who control the resources.
But people are suffering here. There's scarcity of everything, and so many people, especially young people, want to leave.
Well, the United States knows, and not only the United States, the capitalist system, they knew that the people support the revolution, but they want to create necessities for the people, and to that way, maybe they feel that way maybe it's gonna take the streets and get rid of the system, but that's not gonna happen. Because over here, the kids, they definitely, everybody wants to leave. Everybody wants, material things. Not everyone, but, especially young kids. They want a nice cell phone. They want, to have sneakers and all these things that the capitalist, society, they push to us. But they don't want to give up, all the privilege that they have. No, they are not. And the ones that they want to leave, I have to tell you from my own experience, because I was a nurse for many years, and I have a lot of patients, from the 80s in New York. And then when they have to face reality that they have to work 3 jobs in order to have maybe a little apartment to live, they don't have a life. I remember vividly a patient that always say, "Hey, Colombian," because they call me Colombia. When I was in Cuba, I was dreaming to have a big TV and to have all these nice things. And now I work like a dirty dog to get a TV, and I don't have a time to watch TV because I have to work 3 jobs in order to pay the rent every month. And I say, yeah, that's why I don't say nothing to the people when they start talking about, all these glorious ideas that the propaganda put in people's minds, especially the people who coming from Miami, and that they coming over here to La Habana because I see it, with all this jewelry and think that it's not really jewelry, to try to pretend that they live in a paradise. But we know that it's not true. That is just a fantasy. It's the propaganda, basically.
You have a grandson who is living in New York and now lives here.
Yes.
And what does he like about it here?
Well, the freedom. He feels free to
How
walk.
old is he?
Now he's 12. I am not afraid to let my child to walk from here, and I live in a neighborhood that is considered, the not the best neighborhood, in La Habana. When you say that you live in Jesus Maria, everybody's like, what? And this is Jesus Maria. My grandchild who walked from here to Prado and Animas to the school, Rafael Maria Mendive. And I am not afraid that he can go back and forth. During the weekends, he used to go to Prado, to do his art, because he's an artist. He born an artist. He loves to draw, you see. And he just go and hang out with all the others, and try to help, the others who they are selling, the pieces, especially to the foreigners. And when they don't speak English, when they don't speak Spanish, it's pretty funny, because he's the one who helped them, to deal with the money and to explain, about the artwork. And then they ask him, how can you speak English so well? And he said, yeah, because I'm a Cuban from Manhattan. And everybody's like, what? And I said, yeah, I born in Manhattan, but I'm Cuban. Yeah, he loves Cuba. He feels totally free, and it's different. Imagine in New York, it's pretty sad. They just have to be in a phone, watching stupidities. Over here, sometimes he even forgot that he have a phone. He want to get a book. He want to ask me about my life. He want to go to the neighbor. He just go to in front of the building to play with 10, 20 kids, in several occasions. In one occasion I was just laughing. I said, Nico, with your shoes. And he said, Cuckoo, we was playing football in El Malecón, and our ball, they went to the water. I take it off my shoes and we start playing with my, and I said, that's great, Nico,
And what about the issue with drugs?
Oh, imagine. Drugs is a real serious problem in the United States. Over here, we don't have that kind of problems. They totally free. And it's pretty sad. I feel very sorry for the kids in the United States. I spent many years in the Lower East Side, and I was so privileged that I was embraced by a community that they was rebuilding, the abandoned buildings, and we put together several alternative schools: the Earth School, the neighborhood school, children's workshop, the learning project, because education is not a priority in a capitalist society. And I think they really want our kids to get prepared to go to McDonald's or to clean floors or to jail. Because you just see the percentage of the kids of color that they are in jail in the United States. I don't believe that our kids born to be drug dealers or to use drugs or to be in a corner. You know, they born equal as in other kids. You know that they live, but it's part of the system. It's just pathetic.
And here, is there a drug problem?
No, I never see any child, using drugs. Drugs are very penalized in this country. Not the people who use drugs, because they treat people, they treat drugs problem as a sickness, like the way that it's supposed to be, not like in the United States. Well, now the United States is changing a little bit, because now it's not only the black people and the Latinos. Now it's the middle class that they are dying in the emergency room as with an overdose of, because now they was in Afghanistan and they was controlling, the opium. But yeah, it's pretty sad.
So you were mentioning when we first came here that you were a midwife for many years.
Yes.
And what do you think of the difference between childbirth here in Cuba and childbirth in the United States, comparing the two, especially in lower class environments?
Well, I have the opportunity to spend time with the how you call it. You know that over here in Cuba, we have a doctor in the communities, right? This means I see how when a female is pregnant, they has to go through a real support, a team that really support the person that is pregnant. And then in the United States, to have a baby, they treating the females like it's a sickness, and it's not a sickness. It's a natural process. That means over here they don't go to a hospital and have the baby. They have a special place that is just for the mothers to go and have the baby. It's not like in the United States that you go to a hospital, and depends, how much you have in your pocket or what kind of insurance you have, because you are from the United States and the way that it is.
In prenatal care?
Forget it. I can't tell you about my own experience when I was pregnant. I was just fighting like a dirty dog with the doctor, because I was 37 years old and he was yelling and screaming at me and telling me that I needed cesarean, that I have to do this, that I have to do that, and I say no. I know my body, and I'm gonna have my baby in a natural way. I don't want pitocin, I don't want this, I was just fighting for the right to have a baby the way that I want. And I have the baby in a hospital that was supposedly was not in the South Bronx, let's put it that way. Was in Manhattan, the best Israel Medical Center. Just me.
So maybe to wrap up, what would you want to say to President Biden if you had a chance?
To keep his promise, to stop lying. That is a big crime. And when he was running for president, that's not what he said. And it's about time to leave Cuba to live in peace. That Cuba doesn't represent any threat, for any country or anybody in this planet. That Cuba is a good example for the humanity. And I feel that if one day Cuba have the opportunity to live without the embargo, they can be. I can imagine if with all these problems, and they have the capacity to send doctors to places that they never have a chance to see a doctor. I think it's a crime. It's a big crime. I got very emotional, I'm sorry, but